Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scousers Morning Coffee or Tea with American Scouser on a Wednesday morning, where I'm back to being the number one greatest dad because it is Wednesday. John is nowhere to be found. No, just kidding. John is out there working. He has become an adult. But Steven is with us. What's happening, man?
Good morning. Good morning. Good to be here. Thanks for having me back.
Man, a lot going on. So a lot to talk about. Actually, it's weird because like last night I was like, "Oh, I don't want to like rehash a lot of like the headlines we talked about and stuff. But then late last night and then this morning, kind of like wake up to like a bunch of news. So we'll start with facts and then we'll go into the rumorville because there's a lot more brewing over there. Like the biggest probably. So I'll ask you over here. So Liverpool do confirm this is directly from the website that Von Brockenhurst is back as the assistant. Not back, I guess he's back. He's an assistant, and Valero is back as the goalkeeping coach. Before we go to the individual, let me ask you how much weight do you put in the assistants, or like how much do you think they actually bring or add?
I mean, I think they bring a lot of value. Klopp spoke so highly of Pep. I think there's a reason why Guardiola is after Pep. I think they bring a ton of value. Hypinga, leaving. I think he had not only an impact on Slot but the players. I mean, you saw the reception or the farewell messages from the team. Um, you know, we're gonna miss you. Couldn't have done it without you. So I think, I mean,
Are those like, you say that to anybody leaving the office, but no, you don't mean it
I
sometimes.
don't, I don't know. I'm not, and to be honest, I'm not overly active on social media. I'm on Twitter just purely for Liverpool news. Instagram, I'm not on much. It's all just, through. Correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't seen a farewell like that outside of Klopp of, for particular staff members or, back office staff.
Uh, I don't know. I know Pep got a lot, but he had been here for a long
8 years.
time. And I'll be
Yeah.
honest, like when Pep was around, um, and when people were looking in the crystal ball, everybody was. That's when Stevie was doing well at Rangers. Then he came and
Yep.
stuff. Everybody was like, I mean, the biggest argument I remember we had here, and you could see it online all over the place on Facebook and stuff like that was, would you rather have Gerrard as the next manager after Klopp, or would you rather have Pep? And I was actually all more on the Pep side of things,
Sure.
but I still blame him. Here's the thing: when Klopp was loved so much, I think what happened was anything good went to Klopp, anything bad went to Pep. The only thing I give bad to Pep is I think freaking twisting Trent, thinking he could be a midfielder and stuff. That was the beginning of the end, I think, for me, for in terms of Trent up here at least.
Yeah.
But I think they bring. I mean, this difference. Obviously, it's a different work environment, but usually the assistant is the bridge. So I think the players day in and day out usually probably it's like a leading block, right? Like you kind of go to the assistant first to gauge what's going to be. I mean, I know when I was an assistant or like any assistant that's like really good that is
Yep.
trying to learn and be a manager, you are like the listening board and the sounding board, I should say, where like people come
Sure.
to you and then you're like you don't even want to go up there. I mean, there was a story the other day about like Henderson talking about when Klopp changed the practice times, and
Hmm.
all the players go to the captain. It kind of goes like, player, captain, assistant, manager kind of thing.
Sure.
But he goes
Yeah.
to Klopp and asks and gets shut down and stuff. I actually thought that was odd because I thought that would be something that would be bounced off of the assistant first before you go to Klopp's room and knock on the door and like make the request. But I don't know. I almost feel like we either overvalue or undervalue their effect on the team
That's fair. That's
based
fair.
on who it is, or maybe based on who the
Sure.
manager is.
And I think, Klopp, I think, had that relationship with the players. Uh, I Who's to say what the relationship with Slot is like? But I think you're right. I think we either overvalue or undervalue, and but I do think it's an important role. Um, and there's history with the club already, so that's good, which I can appreciate. So no, I mean I don't know. I just want the season to kick off. I don't care who's in the dugout. I don't care who's on the bench. I want to
So
watch
do
some
you
footy.
read any into that? The only one that I didn't like, the assistant one, not as much, because yeah, I feel like it's a good choice. Dutch. I mean, when we
Mhm.
got, I think from like like with his Everton ties and stuff like that, there was a lot of smack being talked then, and then 6 weeks
Sure,
into things, everything gets forgotten. The
sure.
goalkeeper one, especially Tafarel leaving, I thought was kind of odd. And when you go like on Twitter, when the news is out, nobody cares about the other dude. Everybody's like, "What? Tafarel is leaving?" Because
Yeah.
everybody sees it as a sign that because he was Ali's guy, and anything
Mhm.
you watch, there was like a video that Liverpool released maybe like last year or the year before with him and Tafarel, like the ties they have and how much Ali. Do you take that as a sign that for the future of Ali, or are people reading too much into that?
Man, I think for this season, probably reading too much into it. Um, I mean, I think bringing in the keepers that we have to support Ali, I think that there's already long term planning going on.
Yeah, true.
Um, Ali's not going to be with us forever. I think he's got one more year left on his
Yeah,
contract.
basically it will be 2 more seasons, I think. I want to say
Sure.
2027, I think, is the contract run still.
Right. So, I can see it being some form of long term planning. I actually was reading on Twitter this morning, about the new coach coming back was from Torres. So he was there during Torres's days, and Torres said during training he would coach the strikers on how a goalkeeper might react to one-on-one situations. And so, I know that brings in, I know we'll talk about strikers later this morning, but, I think that could be a really interesting tie in if that is true.
Mhm.
It's not from a major publication, but if that is true, depending on who we sign as a striker, and that front line, that could be really beneficial.
Yeah,
Um,
actually.
and then it raises the question of like, okay, well, if Nunez stays and has that insight, does he
Don't
improve
start this
his?
shit. Don't start this shit. Too early in the morning to get me going over here. Don't start this thing. Do you put any stock into that? See what you did.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I want him to leave. It's time for him to go. It didn't work, but I do think that's an interesting viewpoint from a striker's standpoint, not directly impacting the goalkeepers.
Yeah, I mean, his ties, I mean, having been here in the past and he's traveled around a lot. I mean, the goalkeeper, I think when it's a goalkeeper coach, that's one of the few things, like in like American football, you can kind of tell there's like 10 teams within the team, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the
Yep.
linebackers, like there's the room for them, the wide receivers, blah, blah. And almost feels
Yep.
like they're kind of semi disconnected in some ways. And then they get together and all that. Goalkeepers, I think in soccer, I think goalkeepers is the only one I feel like it's a little bit separate. Like they go off and practice over there. They have their own things and stuff like that. So
Right.
I think for a
Right.
goalkeeper coach, the more important part is his relationship with the goalies that are in the squad and stuff like that. So that's fine as long as obviously he has a lot of experience moving around, so he's done well in terms of like acclimating to new set of people, and maybe that's what he
Yeah.
enjoys. The Van
Yeah.
Bronckhorst, this is going to be like a hard one to keep saying, but I'm going to have to call him Gio or something like that. But I mean, I kind of know him a little bit in terms of managing from when he was in Turkey, like coaching Besiktas.
Uh-huh.
Like in terms of style and stuff like that, he got a raw deal, like many managers in Turkey do. When you don't get results within the first 60 hours, then you get canned pretty quickly over there. But I feel like that's a bit more important in terms of playing style or what players do because it does impact the whole team.
Right. Yeah. No, I would agree with that.
And I think I don't know. Like, I mean, do you know much about him? I mean, I know like he was at Feyenoord and stuff too, but aside from that, it's like,
Yeah. No, not really much. I mean, I was trying to wake up early and do some more prep for the show, but We've got 2 little
Prep
girls.
for the morning show. Matush is in the audience. He'll tell you how much. If you made coffee or tea, which, by the way, are you a coffee guy or a tea guy? We never talked about this.
Coffee in the morning, tea at night.
Really? See, that's rare that people who wait. Don't tell me you're drinking some weak ass tea though. Like what kind of tea are we talking? Because usually, like I can drink coffee and go to sleep. I can drink tea and go to sleep, but most people won't drink that stuff in the evening and they won't be able to sleep.
No, I'll drink like Earl Grey or English breakfast tea.
Okay.
After dinner, like with dessert.
Okay. Yeah, I got that. Okay, that's cool. But coffee in the morning. Okay, we can
coffee in the morning. Always.
You guys see you scaring Saido. He's like, please, yes. Nunes should have gone already. We're waiting for somebody to give him probably what we want in terms of Napoli and stuff like that. Well, I guess we'll start with that crazy rumor that Kazi was spreading around with zero sources on Discord because he really wants Osimhen to come over. But I don't know. It just felt like way too much, first of all. And more importantly, the whole Osimhen thing, I think, the age thing doesn't make sense. But we kind of talked about on Monday night that, based on what we did, the reinforcements we brought in.
Yep.
You have Mo and Van Dijk a couple more years over here, not only age, not contract wise, but age wise, right?
Sure.
So I can see us saying, you know what, age be damned, we're gonna get a striker to get across the line and win things.
Yep.
But with the wages and stuff like that, it becomes a totally different ball game. Do you put any stock into the Osimhen thing? I think the rumor was Nunes, Chiesa, and like 15, 20 million or something like that for Osimhen.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a lot, by the way.
Yeah, I can't see that happening. I know Chiesa wants to go back to Italy. He's, again, World Cup. This comes back to the Guehi conversation last week we had, is like all these players want to be playing in the World Cup next year. And so who's going to give them the best opportunity? Even outside of the Osimhen deal, Chiesa was always looking. I know he was a rumor for Napoli already.
Yep.
Nunez has been Napoli, like that's been the primary source of information for Nunez. As far as a trade deal, I don't see it happening. It doesn't make sense for both those players plus, what'd you say, 20, 25 million?
Yeah, it's not like
that's crazy money.
Or 18. I mean, you would think in-store credit should be more than cash. And if they're already offering 45, 50, and you're probably thinking, 15, 20 or whatever for Chiesa, you would think the in-store credits that they would give you would be a lot more. It almost feels like it's less.
Right.
If you're putting money on top of it. I think it just seems too convenient. Right?
But for them, yeah.
Yeah, for Joel, good morning, man. Yeah, I'm not putting a lot of it. Berries tea from Ireland, says Alan.
All right, Alan. We'll give it a shot.
What's special about that, Alan? I mean, I'll be honest. First of all, Earl Grey, I cannot do. And for teas, I'm Turkish, man, old school. So like Turkish tea, like black tea, basically, like really dark and stuff like that is the only thing that I can kind of. Wife has approximately 682 different types of tea downstairs that she rotates, I think. But they all have some weird stuff in there. I'm like, this is not tea anymore. It's just a bunch of stuff with
hidden flowers.
Hidden among tea leaves is basically what it ends up being. But yeah, I mean, who is your dreams signing? I'm assuming we're gonna go Isak. So give me a backup if it is. But
yeah.
What do you see happening for striker?
Man, that is a good question. I mean, I don't think Isak happens. Obviously, he's Premier League proven, bangs in the goals. I know that we've been talking in the chat of, injury history and all of that, but like he's got it all.
I think it doesn't happen because of money. Like, why do you think it doesn't happen?
I don't think Newcastle lets him go for what we're willing to pay.
I got you. Okay.
Well, I mean, what is it? They're asking 140, I think.
Yeah, it's something obnoxious.
And that's crazy money. We would never pay that. Now, if he forces their hand, then maybe. But I also don't know if that would ever happen. I also don't know if I want that to happen. Right? Like we've got burned like that in the past and have been bitter. Like, is that the way we want to get our ideal candidate?
Okay, let me ask you this then. What is an amount that's gonna, we always have this conversation, like
Yeah.
famously, Ozzy always goes around saying like it's not our money, but at the same time, we want to make sure it's smart business because we know how it affects what's gonna happen down the road. It's never our money. None of this is our money.
Right.
Even when it's a good deal, it's not our money. But what is an amount that you're gonna be like, that's good, that's good business there? Or fair. I think good business will be getting him for 50 million, but what would be a
Sure.
fair
Yeah.
amount, I guess.
I think in the range of 100 to 110 would be fair.
Okay.
So I mean, far off the valuation of what Newcastle has him at. But either way, I don't think it gets done. I think after that, my preference would be Ekitike. Um, he's a little younger. He's got like crazy height. He's tall.
Yeah.
Speed, moves well. I think link up play with Verts and Salah and whoever is playing on the left wing at this point. I don't know. I think it would be really fun. Now, I think Osimhen would also be a great signing. He's got, in my opinion, I think he's got more strength, more presence in the box. I don't know. I don't know. Like so much of, I'm looking at last season and how we played. Crosses into the box from Trent and Robbo, which are prime for a tall striker. Is that going to be the same way? I think Frimpong and it plays more to feet. Kirk is great at crosses, but do we have the same delivery? So I don't know. I like Ekitike. I think we can get the deal over the line for much cheaper than we could Osimhen. And I think he's got the skill set that we want and need.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing about Osimhen, by the way, that we were talking about that I forgot to bring up is the fact that he would be gone to AFCON as well. So now you send him and Mo to AFCON.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that you don't get with Ekitike and stuff like that. Dom is in the house. PG Tips guy in the red roast tea. See, like this is closest thing to English tea. Like, yeah, I mean, dude, I realized the English tea was a different experience because it's more of an event kind of a deal. Like there's a lot of like tea, but until I came here and then we went back to Istanbul with Angie, I did not realize how much tea was being consumed in Turkey. I mean, holy mother of God, like you couldn't walk around with somebody literally handing you like a glass of tea over there. I'm like, that's enough tea already. Like, just this is the fifth one and stuff. I mean, mind you, like, the Turkish tea glasses are tiny.
A little bit.
But
yeah.
be that as it may, God damn, man, that's a lot of tea being consumed. But yeah, only black tea for me. Ekitike is, yeah, I'm not a big Osimhen guy. First of all, I've seen him in a Galatasaray jersey, so that's an automatic turnout for me. But aside from that, I mean, the age, the demands, his personality overall, and to add to that, the whole AFCON thing, I just don't.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, we've experienced AFCON missing two of our top players. Salah and Mane last time around, and we survived, but it's a different team. So that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that.
Dom says, "Oh, that is a crazy rumor." I heard Lewandowski and 25 million for Diaz. That would actually, I never see Liverpool doing that because Lewandowski is like what 83 or somewhere around there. For one, I mean in terms of like banging in goals, yeah, but I mean his injury history recently and stuff. Like, would you be cool with it, for example?
No. I mean, I love Lewandowski. I think he's too old. He's injury prone. I don't know work ethic. Like, is he going to be tracking back the way that we need him to, press him from the front the way that we need him to? I love him as a player. I've loved watching him over the years, but I don't think that makes sense
And I think
for someone that
ability
age.
to be able to maybe goal ethic. Dom's like, don't shoot the messenger. uh yeah, I think like the whole age thing, and yeah, like you said, it's just at that age, is he going to be able to give you the running in the Premier? Is he going to be durable enough for the Premier League? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Would have loved it back in the day. I guarantee you,
Totally.
Matush would not even be big on that at this point. So,
Well, and I think too, I mean, you're gonna trade in one of your starters, like almost bang on starters in Diaz,
yep.
plus 25 million. That the market, you're not getting anyone to replace Diaz at 25 million with an aging striker who may start but probably rides the bench. And wages. I mean, I don't know what he's on. Like he's gonna demand crazy money. So
And how, I mean, I was joking, but seriously, how old is he?
I think he's like 35, 36. Which
Yeah,
I'm
he's
35, and the
36.
fact that I'm saying he's old is embarrassing.
He's 36. He's going to be 37 before the season kicks off, or as the season kicks off in August. So yeah, I don't see that happening. Especially, I mean, that's like a bad. I mean, I'm sure Barcelona would be all over that because they're ultimately getting the for 25 million. Because
Well, they get him off the wage books, and
yes, exactly,
it's good business for them.
Kevin says can't be Turkish coffee brewed on stove in old pots. Yes, I mean that's the. But the problem is that's not a good morning coffee, it's not a sipping coffee. So that's a good like dessert coffee there. But more importantly, Kevin says they line up the Guehi replacement. So good luck for him in the red. So I mean, yeah, I saw the notification from FootMob this morning that Quansah deal is now official and signed and everything like that. Crystal Palace is getting their center back, which opens the door for Guehi to walk out and come towards us. I think we spoke a little bit about it last week, but where are you with that in terms of?
I love it. I think he's a great signing. I think it'll be really interesting to see, what Liverpool is promised. Again, we talked about it last week. I brought it up this morning already. World Cup. That's what's on all these guys' mind. Last week we talked about he's going to want some level of guarantee of playing time to make sure that he's in the national team and ready for the World Cup. But I think it's a really interesting battle between him and Konate, assuming we keep him, right? There's still a long window. He's only got a year left. Do we try and push him out and put him up on offer somewhere? But I do think if Konate goes, we need to find some sort of cover. Gomez is versatile. I love Gomez. I don't want him to leave. But he gets hurt when the wind blows too hard. So
yes.
I think we for sure will need some cover. But I think it'll be a really, really interesting battle between Guehi and Konate. Depending on fitness levels of everyone and who starts. But I think it's a great signing.
Is it a smart move for Guehi? I mean, because if I find it hard that they gave him guarantees, unless they give him a guarantee because they know Konate is going to be sold. Is it a smart move for Guehi knowing the World Cup? Because he was guaranteed a start over there at Palace.
Right. Yeah, that's a good question.
Or even like, if you went to Newcastle or somewhere like that, which I don't know if Newcastle is still in the market for him and being able, fork out that money. I guess they can sell Isak to us and have the cash to go get but like I don't know if they're in the market for it, but I mean, is it a smart move for Guehi to say, yeah, I'll go battle with Konate and see how that pans out?
I think if I'm an elite footballer like Guehi is, who's coming off the year that he's had, winning the first silverware for Crystal Palace, incredible stats last season. I'm confident in myself of that. I'm like, no, I've got what it takes, and I want to play with the best. Like partnering Van Dijk, or even the opportunity to partner Van Dijk. The front line in front of you. You got Salah, Diaz, Gapco. It helps us from the homegrown talent side of things. if I'm him, I want to take that risk because I'm confident in my performances.
Yeah, I mean, you got to figure, especially for the national team, if you're in any kind of a battle, playing next to Van Dijk is only going to make you look better. So
Yeah.
I buy that argument. That's for sure. I guess my thing is he might have been sold on the fact that, hey, look, Van Dijk is not getting younger, and we probably don't
You're
want
going
to
to be our guy
every single game. And I think if we had a bit more confidence in 2 and 3 together,
Yep.
I think we would probably maybe rest him more, take him off more, or whatever the case might be, save the legs and give him some more minutes like that. But
yeah.
Yeah, Dom says no way. And I think that would be the only assurance that he would get is unless one, they know Konate is being sold, which they're
Right.
not going to tell Guehi, hey, we're going to sell Konate, I would think. So my only thought would be this is the number of games at the minimum that you will get, even if people are healthy. Like because
Yeah.
we're going to rotate, we have 70 games.
Yeah. Well, and I said it last week of, you know, if we're halfway through the season and Konate hasn't signed a deal yet, I'm benching him. You know, like if I've got my choice between Guehi and Konate, you're not going to renew your contract. I'm going to put the guy that's going to be here for the next 4 or 5 years.
That's fair.
Right? Like
But do you wait? Like, see, isn't that too late at that point? Like, do you want to do that in, I don't know, November, so that if he's like, so that he says, then sell me in January?
Yeah, yeah. No, that's. I mean, yeah. I think, you know, you start the season, you rotate them. You've got cup games, you know, between the start of the season and the fall, or you know, winter break. So you get some healthy rotation. You build up fitness levels. And then, yeah, I mean, October, November, depending on where contract talks are at with Konate. Like, if I'm Slot, I'm saying, hey, you haven't committed to us. I'm focusing my energy. I don't care if it's a World Cup year for you. This is my guy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean I think and that would be fair too. Like, you know, hey, we're looking ahead. So apparently you're not looking ahead with us. So we're looking ahead. You know, I mean, I think that's fair to him as well. So yeah, I mean, Alan is confirming that too, because I saw that this morning. They're almost done with that one, which opens the door to He has nothing to learn from Palace players. Yeah, that's true. And I think, look, a lot of these guys have become good center backs being next to Van Dijk. I mean, Van Dijk will make me look pretty darn good at this level. So I think you have that going for you. But I also do think you're not going to get adequate playing time if you're just rotating as the right center back. I think his is more the fact that, you know, he will fill in for Van Dijk and he will lead the back line in some ways, along with Konate and stuff like that in certain games.
Yeah.
I don't know if you put any stock into this. I think Quansah being gone kind of cancels that away, because you can't build a system. If you're building a system where you want to play 3 in the back, I can see certain games maybe. But if you want to establish a system that has 3 at the back, I would think, Steven, you would need at least 5 center backs in the squad, just for rotation purposes, injury, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I would even say just for the injuries, just based on our history. Yeah, and I don't know that's the way that Slot to me wants more balance than that. He wants the defense balance. He wants the attack balanced, and everything shifts together rather than just having those 3 at the back.
So here's the thing. I'm glad you brought that up, because I had forgotten about this. So this is a good chance to bring this up so we can kind of talk a little bit about this. I asked the guys on Monday night. So now I will put you on the
hot seat.
The hot seat over here, because this came out, obviously, the player of the tournament. We just had it in our social media. I think it was yesterday or maybe earlier this morning.
Yep.
So this came out yesterday, though, that we want 40 with buyback or 50 without for Elliott.
Yeah,
so, I saw that. Let me ask you this. So we'll go step at a time. Do you think there's a role for Elliott right now if he stays?
Probably not. I love Elliott. I really do want him to stay. I think he's an incredible talent, but I just don't see how he gets in ahead of on a regular basis anyone that we've got slotted for the starting lineup.
Okay, so let me see if I can sell you on this devil's advocate theory over here. So
Okay.
we don't know how we're going to end up playing, right? So, I mean, we're talking like, is
Sure.
it 3, is it 4 in the back, or are these guys wing backs, or are they just right back, left back, and all that kind of stuff. And the same goes for the top. Like, we do not know because we don't have a striker yet. Are we going to even sign a striker and all that kind of stuff? In
Fair.
a world where you signed a player like Wirtz, right? And you talk about balance and stuff like that. I don't think that's an equal amount of balance if you play exactly the way you did last year and remove Szoboszlai and put Wirtz there.
Yep.
Just on this alone. In a world where you're creating a role for Wirtz, wouldn't that also create a role for Elliott? Because I think when we talk about Elliott now, before it was he never fit in the blue collar midfield of club, and then he wasn't fast for the wings. So that eliminated him. With Slots, yeah, he just could not do the running and the physical things that Szoboszlai brings. Again, not fast enough for the wings, so we didn't have a spot. But now, if you're building a system that gets the most out of Wirtz, isn't that also creating a role that gets the most out of Elliott?
Okay. I like the devil's advocate. Yeah, I mean, I hadn't thought about it that way. But yeah, because I think Elliott is more of that type of player that can slot in well to that, attacking midfielder or maybe even a false nine. Maybe not the false nine role, but the technicality that Wirtz has, I think Elliott has shown signs of. And could be a great solution to injury or rotation. Yeah, because to your point, is like I've only really ever thought of it like, well, okay, Salah's coming out or traditional midfielders coming out, Szoboszlai's coming out. But then it's like, okay, well, do you have Jones fill in at that point? Or, that's interesting.
Because the only time like we realized them and we gotten the best out of him is where we do have 4 attackers, we're chasing a goal. He has kind of like a more of a free roll along mostly the right hand side or whatever, but he distributes. He's very fast with the ball, like moves the ball fast, which I like, especially against a low block and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm playing devil's advocate to find the role for him. And in the current setup, you can't, but we know it's not going to be the current setup just because of how much the players have changed.
Yeah, that's fair. I think if before you brought that up, I would have said sell him for 50, get the maximum dollar. As long as Slot's here, I don't see him wanting to bring him back. I know there were rumors that Slot and his staff were looking at extending their contracts already. I don't know if you saw that. So I don't know. That's a very interesting proposition, my friend.
Yeah, this is like see, it's all in the comments. It's going all over the place too. So Mr. Barrett says, "What's going on, by the way, man? Slot doesn't rate Elliott. He's gone. We can debate all we like, but that's all that matters ultimately. His value isn't getting any higher than it currently is. So there's a good point to be made in that because we don't want to do another Nat Phillips thing where we don't sell him when the value has peaked and then 3 years down the road he's gone for like 5 million or whatever the hell, you know what I mean, stuff like that. So I understand that. That's fair. I don't know if I agree to the fact that does he not rate Elliott, or Elliott is not important enough to make us, or important or good enough, I guess, in some ways, to carve out a spot and make a spot for. Whereas when you have, I mean, I've heard him talk about this. I guarantee you he didn't rate Trent as a right back. But when you have certain abilities, well, I mean, I remember like in a couple of situations when he's explaining the situation, he's like, well, when you have a player like Trent, So like, you get the most out of
You
him, you
make
put
it,
him in
yeah.
a situation and stuff.
You make
I
it
don't
work.
think,
Yep.
Harvey is that level of player where you're gonna be like, okay, we're changing everything over here, like move all the pieces out so you can put Elliott over there. But if you're creating a new system, and Dom says our best performance was against City away, we had 2 number 10s. In that one, he has a spot. And wait, if he goes back to back to Newcastle, why don't we give him to Newcastle another 50, 60 and send us over Isak too? I can make an argument for that. But I mean,
Yeah.
I think ultimately we love the kid. We want him to stay. Realistically, though, apart from my crazy scenario, I mean, it's not too crazy, but just because we don't know how good play.
No, it's an interesting point. But yeah, I think realistically, I think he goes this season. One of the comments is like his value's not ever been higher. I mean, he's player of the tournament, incredible performances. He had 4 or 5 goals throughout the tournament. I mean, he had it all. It was a great end of season tournament for him. Even his performances last year within the team, he came on and made differences. He's an incredible talent. I don't know that you keep him with the potential of the value that we can get for him right at this point.
That's a good point too. I'm sure. I would think if I'm Harvey, and I think Gally was talking about this, or I can't remember, maybe it was Bickler, that 5-6 months ago, Harvey was all about, um, you know, fight for the spots. I'm a Liverpool player. I love this place, blah, blah. And then towards the end of the season, it was a bit more about, I got to think of my career. It's, like find the best spot and stuff like that. So, the World Cup point that Dom brings up for him as well is important, because if you're the player of the tournament, albeit as the older player playing against U21, so you have to kind of like gauge that, I guess, as well. But, 17 minutes before anyone mentioned chat. First of all, it's not a lot longer than 17 minutes, Kevin. Just because you joined us 17 minutes. I made it 37 minutes over here, or close to it. But yes, I did watch. Speaking of, somebody was talking about City losing in the Club World Cup. I don't think we talked Club World Cup with you. We probably talked way too much about it on Monday night than I would have actually liked, to be honest with you. We even lost a couple of people that were like, we don't care and stuff in the audience. I did watch the Real game yesterday. Not for Trent, though. I watched it because Arda Güler was playing on one side and Kenan Yıldız was playing on the other side, and they're kind of like the future of Turkish soccer kind of a thing, and that's the only reason I was watching. But Trent was Trent, as always, and stuff. But what do you make of the Club World Cup, by the way? Have you watched any of it?
No, I tuned in maybe 30 minutes to one of the games. That's not true. I watched the PSG Madrid game, which was fine. I don't know. I'm indifferent to it. I don't really care for it. I'm not eager to watch it. Now, I think if Liverpool's playing like last time, then I'm obviously going to watch because I want to watch my team. But I don't know. I know there's a bunch of comments from Klopp, pushing it down and everyone giving him grief over that. I'm indifferent. I think if you look at it from Klopp's argument, from the totality of world football and the players' health and the workload, I think it's dumb. But I don't know. I read an interesting article the other day about how just FIFA is ruining global soccer because of it's now just become a marketing campaign for big dollar businesses.
Yeah,
which I don't love. So
I think somebody came over here for a vacation and they were like, wait a second, we can really bank. These guys are banking off the sports that only they watch, like American football and stuff. They're like, we can really bank on this thing the whole world watch. I mean, I go back to this. I didn't watch the Gold Cup games either, to be honest with you. I mean, I read.
Yeah.
I don't know which one I read or watch. Is death an option? Yeah, I have no idea. But um, I go back to, I mean, like Hassan, I mean, I think anybody in here, and probably anybody in the chat as well, we, if anything, we overconsume the sport. I mean, if I turn it on, I mean, my wife used to play and stuff too. So like she's, we watch sports together and stuff. So, by default, I look for a soccer game sometimes. If we're doing something else in the background, like something is going to be on the screen, I look for like, what's on sport
Yep.
wise, like, and it's
Yep.
usually soccer wise. The fact that people like us who are over consuming the sport and kind of like basically ultimately addicts for it, right, are not watching it, just says it's just not a good drug. Like, no, you know what I mean? It's just shit that
Well,
we're
and
ready to
I think
watch.
another thing is particularly to America is like none of the team there's a presence I think for Chelsea in the US. City is growing. But like a lot of these international teams, the world of international soccer is so small or relatively new to America. I mean, Premier League, I think, was the first major global league to televise and on a big network. Then you bring in La Liga. I don't think Serie A is being televised here. So you've got all these world teams that no one knows who they are. Like unless you've been following the sport and you dive in deep to the madness that we do talking about it all day every day.
Yeah.
Most of these teams, no one knows who they are. There's no following for them, and so
That's a good point, actually. I mean, like I say, like Angie, for example, like she watches the sport, but not as psychotic, not as much of an addict as I am. And I know somebody was playing the other day, and she said, "Who is that?" And it was like Botafogo or whatever, and she's like, "Who the hell is that?" I mean,
where are they from?
yeah. I mean, if I said, Atletico Madrid or whatever, she would not, that's not the next question. But when I say it's Botafogo or like Palmeiras, she's like, "Who the hell is that?" Like, so I think that's a good point, and I think the level of competition in that sense, I mean, same reason I don't really watch, and I know last week you said you don't really watch Major League Soccer either. It's just, I don't know, it's not a good look overall. I thought I would be more into it at this round when it's like more elimination and stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, like Mr. Barrett is talking about the Al Hilal City game. I honestly like kind of rooting for those teams a bit more. Not that I care if Al Hilal wins, like with chainsaw.
You just want to see City lose.
Yeah, you want to lose, and I want the teams that actually care about being there win. Because I guarantee you, everybody in that City squad was like, good, now we can go on fucking vacation.
Right.
Like, I don't think they're bummed in vacation right. They're at the beach right now.
Yeah.
Because, they've already flown out in the personal jet. They're at the beach right now. I highly doubt they were like, I should have passed that ball in the Al Hilal game. I think that's like, thank God we get an extra week or so here.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they blew 100 million.
Sure. But again, that's the argument of like it's pointless because it's just a commercial game. Like how much money can we earn?
Yes.
And
maybe that is a downfall because we were comparing it to like World Cup, Euros, and stuff like that. There is something else to be played for there. This one does just look like people are playing for money, especially the people we know that we watch. Teams we watch are playing for money.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and then what's the end of it? It's like, let's just create a new tournament and a new trophy, and we're going to gather sponsors, and then here's a payout. I mean, they could just keep adding tournament after tournament after tournament, and to what end?
This is a good question. Ozan is in the house. What's going on? It's Liverpool was in the. I'll tell you this. Okay, let's Hawaii. What the hell? I mean, when
I'm going to Hawaii.
I was like thinking of maybe I go to Kentucky or something. I'm not going to Hawaii just to watch Liverpool play like Palmeiras or something like that. And honestly, I don't know. And the funny thing is, the trivia question on this Monday night podcast, it was a perfect gauge of how much we care even when we're in it. Because the questions were the two finals we were in 2005. Well, I'll ask you, who will we play against in those two finals that we went, and how did they go?
Say that again. What's
The
the
two
question?
finals we were in, the Club World Cup, we played in 2 finals.
Oh,
Can you give me the results?
The
And who
2005,
we played?
no, couldn't tell you. And then the last one, what was that? 2018, 2019?
19.
Flamengo.
That was
Wasn't it?
Flamengo, yes, Bobby's
Yeah.
goal. And I think we kind of remember, I personally remember that just because it was such much drama. We had to put the 9-year-olds against Villa and stuff like that because, you know, like the Premier, like England said, the FA basically said, yeah, this League Cup is stupid. But
Yeah.
like, for example, the 2005 one, does anybody remember that? Ozan remembers where it was at. So, but does anybody remember who it was at? Because I think that's a great sign that even when we were in it,
Yeah.
if I asked you any Champions League final, everybody would like try it out like that, the score,
Yep.
who scored, and stuff like that.
Yep.
But the fact that we don't even remember the 2005 one where we lost 1-0 in the final to
No
Sao
idea.
Paulo. Yes, that they couldn't get they couldn't get it on Monday night either. So I think that's a good gauge of, it's not like, because people are putting like, oh, you guys hate it because you're not in it. No, even when we were in it, we don't remember it because we don't put as much value in the tournament. I know that's what FIFA is basically trying to change, but you know, going back to what Ozan was asking, unless they're coming over to Chicago or maybe, I don't know, Indianapolis or something like that, couple of hours drive, I cannot go out of my way to. I mean, I would go just because it's Liverpool, but not because it's the tournament. I went to preseason.
Right.
Normally, I don't go to preseason games.
Right.
I mean, especially
that's
for us,
fair.
it's a rare chance to see Liverpool. So I guess we don't care who
Were
they're
you
playing
in?
at that point.
Were you in Chicago when they came to Chicago? Gosh, 10 years ago.
I mean, I was in Chicago, but did they come to Chicago?
Yeah, they played at Soldier Field against who was that? AC Milan, I think.
No, we went to the one at Notre Dame
Okay.
Stadium, where they played Borussia Dortmund. Went to that one, and I think, I'm assuming this is Japan, so next one will be state. So I would probably go to it, but either it was that's when I was in the workforce. Not that I'm not in the workforce, but I'm at work at home workforce now, whereas I had a schedule to abide to in the past. So that's probably how I ended up not going to that one. I was working the weekend.
I think it was right after the 13-14 season. It was preseason summer tour. They did Chicago, New York, and I think North Carolina. And me and my buddies traveled from LA to Chicago together to go see the game, which is so fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing for us. It's like a rare, it's like a dinosaur sighting. I mean, it's very rare for us to see. So if they come for a Club World Cup, even if it's a couple of states away, we would probably go see it. But we're not going and seeing it because it's the Club World Cup. We're going and seeing it because Liverpool is within reach, and that's why we were like going within reach without spending, a couple of $1,000 and getting a passport and all that kind of stuff. So Tony is here. What's going on, man? See, you had to Google it, and that proves my point right there that we wouldn't care. We don't really care as much about it, and that's kind of local. I would not support that kebab shop. First of all, I think they got the site bad. So get the hell out of there. Find yourself a kebab shop, man. People got destroyed by a tornado. Really?
Oh, that's horrible.
I didn't know you got tornadoes in that neck of the woods, actually, because Kevin is in New Zealand, if I remember correctly. I didn't know that was so. And that's probably like, man, like as a Turkish dude, that's one thing I have not. I mean, gotten close over here, drove through like a ridiculous storm once, but that's probably my biggest fear. You're in Texas, so you're kind of in that
Texas
zone as well.
Yeah, I've seen one off in the distance, but it was small and was pretty much just
I like how you poo-pooed the tornado. It's like it was just a small tornado.
It was a weak one. But no, luckily we've had hail from the surrounding storm, but never had to worry about it.
I mean, every year there's at least 2-3 scares. Obviously in Chicago over here. I'm right by Plainfield over here too, so it is tornado lane, unfortunately. But nothing. Knock on wood. I did not know like New Zealand got those, even for a golf.
Yeah, that's scary.
That's terrible. That's shitty because I mean it's like everything. It was a Nunez. That's the one that you missed, not the other one. Take it
Yeah,
easy.
tried really hard.
Hit the post.
Yeah.
Where were we? We totally digressed. Yeah, so you don't watch it either, the Club World Cup ordeal.
No.
Yeah, it's kind
not
of
for
like,
me.
oh yeah, I was gonna ask you about this. I mean, we are not really looking to. Is this just trying to bring the price up? Because this was on this morning. Obviously, rumor came out yesterday that Bayern is interested. They did send Sane out to Galatasaray, for example. So and they're big on getting older, experienced wingers. They do like that. They get them like really, really young, or they get an old guy that's experienced, use them for 2-3 years, and then sell them again. Do you think us turning it down is a matter of, unless it blows us out of the water, we're not giving him away, or we're not giving him away at all? Like, he's the plan.
No, I think that if the offer's right, he goes.
What's the right offer
then? 70 to 80.
What was the Bayern offer, by the way? I did miss that.
I don't know. I think maybe 50.
I just have like the rejected. I know 70 million. Wait, was that the offer was on, or was that what your offer? I mean, that's because I saw the rumor, and then this morning I saw Fabrizio saying not happening.
Yeah,
kind of an ordeal.
And is it legit, or is it? I know there's been a lot of interest in, or Barcelona is. Are they? I also saw a rumor they were going after Nico Williams.
They're going after Nico. I think that's their ultimate guy. And I think the moment Nico walks in the door, and that's the only thing with, I mean, why would Lucho want to go to Bayern unless they're signing into a new 4-year contract and give him, obviously, we've talked about, we had actually a clip go out talking about how low his wages are. And of course, all the people that are like, these football players get paid too much, people came out instead. 70 million. Is this more about a replacement cost, or is it more about the fact that you have a guy who can play left wing and who can play in the middle? Like, you talk about like a versatile front guy. I honestly think I like Lucho. I like his work rate. I like his attitude. I like his commitments. I think he gets too much criticism that he would not get if it was somebody else. There have been so many games this year and last year, to be honest, that we've said the only thing dangerous is coming from Diaz's side.
Oh, yeah.
I know he kind of runs into a cul-de-sac sometimes, but
sometimes he holds onto the ball a little too long, and he's maybe tries to be too fancy with the footwork. But I think he's a great player. I would be sad to see him go. I think he's fun energy. He's obviously talented. But again, we talk about contracts, and I know we've been talking, or there's rumors of conversations of contract renewal with him, and he's not agreeing to. So again, it comes back to the business side of the club. Of okay, well, if we're already having struggles with contract negotiations, yes, there's time, but what is it like? If there's interest now, do we cut our losses, find a good replacement on a longer contract that can fill that void? But to your point, like you lose versatility.
Yeah.
There. Him stepping into the center of the pitch last season surprised me. I didn't know he could play the center as well as he did. So I don't know. I would like to keep him and renew his contract, but
I think the replacement cost and who you're gonna get, that's gonna give you the same thing. The thing that gets to me the most is people talk shit about Diaz and then praise Gakpo, who is the one who couldn't play in the middle, did not want to play in the middle. So Diaz was willing to do whatever it takes for us to win and went to the middle, and people were shitting on what he was doing in the middle. Well, he's a freaking winger. Gakpo didn't want to go in the middle because he couldn't do it. I think he did better in the middle than Gakpo did in the middle. And
For sure.
I'm not disagreeing that Gakpo is a lot more valuable as a left winger, but I thought it was very unfair for people to constantly shit on what Diaz is doing in the middle, where he's the one playing out of position and
Right.
doing whatever it takes. And I honestly thought, I mean, it kind of helped that the first time we did it, he got a hat trick against Leverkusen. So that's a great selling point for him to go
Yeah.
there. But
Yep.
I don't know. I feel like, but having said that, it goes, like you said, it goes back to the business side of things. Do you want to be in a Konate situation this time next year with Diaz?
Right. No.
Because that's what you're going to be.
I'm over that. I know we talked last week that club transition with back office staff. But I'm over it. I'm over the contract drama. Either let's sell them for some value or let's renew the contract.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But okay, let me play devil's advocate. You're going to get used to this, Steven. I do devil's advocate all day long. That's my full-time job. When we say earlier, we were talking about it's not our money,
right?
For Isak, right? We get mad at these contract situations because we're like, oh, he's going for free. We're not getting any money for him. Well, that's not our freaking money either. So why are we so against not getting anything for players instead of selling Konate now, let's say a lot less than what he's valued at, and having to go buy somebody that you don't know, it's an unknown now for the Premier League and everything like that, performance-wise.
Yep.
Stick with what you have and say, you know what? Yeah, I guess we're going to lose out on 40 million or whatever it might be.
Well, to your point on replacement costs, if you run the contract down, yes, you get an extra season with them. There's guarantees, and guarantees is a strong word. There's a confidence there because of the experience. But then you're getting nothing the next year, and you've got to replace it anyways.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I'm sure the club.
But you basically lost out on 40 million at the end of the day.
Right. And now you're going to have to go spend the 60 million or 50 million or whatever it is either way. But now you haven't brought in any profit or any income from the sale.
But you kind of change your reliable center back to a question mark. I guess Guehi kind of elevate, kind of negates.
Yeah, I think it depends, right? Like if you're bringing in a signing like Guehi, who's, not old by any means, but has experience, has performed well, Premier League proven. I know that's not going to be the case for every signing. Versus someone like a Quansah, who's young, raw, needs a lot of time to grow into his talents and his skills. Well, then, yeah, there's a lot more risk on that front than there is bringing in a player like Guehi.
Yeah, and I think that's why I really like the Guehi move, and that's like Kevin says, that's exactly why they're kind of moving him. But dude, you got to stop this Nalo thing. He is not going to be. I mean, I will be shocked, first of all, if I'm alive in 10 years, but I'll be even more shocked if I'm alive in 10 years and Nalo is like a big-time Premier League center back or something like that. That would be a double shock. That would probably be the end of me. Okay, Jamie. See, Jamie's trying to make a case for Harvey as well. The problem that I see with this, I'll ask you, is speed. But what do you see? Mo in the middle.
Yeah. I mean,
I've heard this before.
Elliott
I have
out
a
wide.
couple of problems with this, but
Elliott out wide. I think from a speed standpoint. Now, again, if we haven't seen Frimpong play, I know he's a little, based on statistics, is a little more defensively sound than Trent was. Elliott doesn't have the legs.
Oh, Leo and Stitch are more defensively sound than Trent was.
But I don't think Elliott has the legs or the stamina to track back the way that Mo does on the wing for a full 90 minutes. I think you're subbing Elliott out every single game at that point. Salah, I think, coming inside gives more opportunity for players to surround him, have more of that defensive block, which, I mean, he's got skills, but he loves that one-on-one. He loves taking on the left back with, you know, one-on-one. He's got the skills to get around him. I think centrally there's too much congestion because people know they know how he plays. They're going to surround him like that. And he's got the body strength to hold players off, but from a presence in the box, I don't think he's got the stature or the I hate to say skill set because obviously he's incredibly talented. I don't think he's got the presence in the box that you would need from a number 9.
Yeah, I just feel like, and you know, Jamie says just an idea, and like, you know, for a game, I don't think, like he says, it's not for like a season. I go back to this for what I think the biggest thing you get out of Mo, and when the discussion was going around like Mo or Mane, who stays, who goes, and stuff, I always said Mo because I felt like even when he loses speed,
Yep.
his top speed, which he has, still faster than Harvey, mind you, but he still has a lot. It's not the old Mo, obviously, you know, regardless of how good shape you're in. He has the creativity, and I felt like he could mold his game, and he kind of has. And I think when you put him on a wing, he still puts fear in you as a winger who can come inside, right? So you have the left back already on him, and usually somebody else. So you're automatically pulling 2 people away to his side, which not good for defense. Obviously, it creates more spots behind. Whereas if you put him in the middle, it's a lot easier to keep an eye on him because you know he's going to be old. Like the center backs are already on top of him, and like you said, as physically, yeah, he can hold people off. He can hold a back off. So that's like a big difference too than 2 big ass center backs on you at all times. He's not going to be good in the air to bring the ball down. Or I think you kind of take away from his game a lot more and kind of take that ability for him to, like, you know, Barretta says, like, you know, like be able to come inside when he feels like there's the space right now, kind of a thing. Even though I do think with Frimpong in there and Bradley in there, Bradley has shown that he can kind of go inside. But Frimpong is usually the wide overlap runner, so it'll be interesting to see how we work out with them, or we kind of change what we do with them. He will. I agree to this too. I think we've kind of taken away. Trust me, Jamie. I was trying earlier to carve out a spot for Harvey too. It's a decent selling point. So, we'll see. I don't know. Like I understand the cashing in while the value is highest as well. It's one of the probably the assets you have that you would be willing to let go without affecting the team and capitalize at its peak. You're selling a stock, you're a finance guy. You're selling a stock at its highest that you don't need in your portfolio necessarily. Right. Actually a good freaking time to sell. For more finance advice, don't come to me. Go to because he's the finance guy around here. But more for Liverpool talk. Hey, from Nikhil is from Indonesia. What's going on, man? You caught us right in the last second over here. But we will be taking out. But tomorrow night, the Bald crew will be here with Mecca and the gang. So do tune in for that. Thursday night, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. Who knows? Maybe they'll be talking about more facts and moves and stuff like that. Mecca is a coach. He can tell us more what the assistant coach does or means and stuff like that as well. So do tune in for that. Have a great Wednesday, everybody. And I'll see you guys Friday morning. Take care.